Good morning, welcome. It's Sunday the 26th of September 2021. We're here to do the daily intuitive general reading, and today I'm using a different set of cards, an Oracle Words of Truth card. So we'll see. I haven't used these cards before. They're just word cards, and we'll just see what they have to offer us. Not sure how many we'll draw. Do what we got to do. Okay. Father. First card. Abandonment. Next card. Brilliance. Breathing. Breakthrough. Expansion. Exhaustion. Impeccability. And integrity. Okay, there are all the cards we needed to draw. I'll draw any others if we need to expand on them. Okay. You need to be dealing with issues related to your father issues and abandonment. Perhaps you felt abandoned or not supported by your father when you were younger, or perhaps you're feeling that. Perhaps you've lost your father in some way. Perhaps he's now passed and you're missing your father, and that's left a gap. It's time to brilliance. Okay, you are brilliant. You can deal with this. You don't need to feel those feelings of abandonment. In fact, whatever the issues were with your father, they're past now. It's time to let them go and move on, and know that you're never alone, that you are brilliant. Breathing. Need to, at the moment, feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you need to stop and breathe. Take the breath in, 3 deep breaths, and let that stress and feeling of being overwhelmed or overloaded, let it pass through you. Let it go. Breathe through those issues you have, those past issues of abandonment and father issues at the moment, and then you'll be having a breakthrough. So it's time to let go of all those issues long ago from childhood, or you perhaps are still grieving the loss of a father. It's time to move on from that grief now and realise that it's not what your dearly loved father would want you to do. He wouldn't want you to be still grieving for him or his loss. He's always there with you. So he didn't really abandon you. He's there. He's walking with you and protecting you. And he wants you to know that he's there and that he's fine, that you don't need to worry about him. He's actually in a better place now. He's not suffering anymore. He's moved on, but he's still around you. He's still there looking down on you, looking after you. Just look for a sign regarding your father at the moment, but he's asking, let go of those feelings of maybe even anger. Perhaps you're feeling anger at your father for leaving you, for passing over and leaving you, and you're feeling those feelings of abandonment. Let them go. He's asking you, let it go. He's still there with you. It was his time to go, and that was the way it was, and it might have been rather sudden and unexpected. It could have, you could feel like he had a hand in his departure, but he wants you to know that he is now in a much better place, that he couldn't cope with things the way they were. It was time for him to leave, but he did never abandon you. You were always and are always with him, and he's always with you. And look around, because you'll maybe see a brilliant light out of the corner of your eye somewhere, or something he will show you by a form of light, by a form of brilliance. Okay, so when things get too much for you, breathe through it and you'll have a breakthrough. There'll be an expansion of your spirit, and you'll turn a corner. You'll let go of your grief and your loss and your father issues, your sense of abandonment. You'll see things more clearly. You'll breathe through it. You'll have a breakthrough, and you can feel yourself expand. You can actually feel the release happen, and an expansion in your energy and within your light within. You've been in rather a dark place. You're moving now into the light, so you're expanding out of that area. Now, going through this process, it can really make you exhausted. You can be quite exhausted. So take time out and rest. It's okay to rest. Just breathe through that exhaustion also. Allow yourself to rest, and then do things that are really pleasurable to you, relaxing things, or just sit in a chair and do nothing. Nothing at all. Complete silence. Just sit. Sit out in nature. Listen to the birds. Watch the wind blowing the trees around. Just take time out to recover from that exhaustion, from that process that you've been going through of letting go and releasing all those issues, because it's very, very deep emotional, actually trauma that you've been going through, either, your grief at loss or abandonment, whatever the issues are that you've been going through. It's been very, very emotionally draining. And so now it's time to rest and connect with nature and ground yourself, and now be present. Let that all go and be present. And then your things are starting to move, and they're working perfectly. Things are flowing perfectly. You've gone through that process. You're letting it go, and now you can just flow. And know that you're supported, and that you can stand in your power and your integrity. You're upright and strong, and you feel like there's been a weight lifted off your shoulders, and you feel like you can actually breathe deeply and clearly for the first time in a long, long time. and your breathing is impeccable. It's just, as you breathe in, you're breathing in the light and the air, and you're feeling yourself lighten up so much, and it's shining through you, and your integrity is shining. You're standing in your truth. You're seeing things clearly now. You were perhaps clouding in your mind, clouding issues, creating a fog. You didn't want to look at things. Fear was ruling you. But because you've gone through this process now, you've released that fear, you've released the anger and the issues surrounding your father, surrounding the abandonment. And it's made you feel like a whole different person. You're understanding more clearly now the situation. You're able to forgive anything you need to forgive, because you realise that by not forgiving, that anger and hatred's a really strong word, but that's the word that came in, that you might be bearing towards somebody, some situation, something somebody's done. And that's okay to be angry and upset at people's actions and that, but there comes a time when you need to forgive the person, not necessarily their actions, but forgive them, because you can't change what's in the past. And if you're not living from your heart centre, from a space of love, it then affects you. It affects your physical, mental and spiritual health. So it's time to forgive and let go of the hurtful situations or things that the grudges that you're holding. You're letting them go now, and it feels to me like there's like a weight's just been lifted. As these words were coming and I was working through them, I was visualising a human being standing there really weighted down, carrying a huge weight on their shoulders and in their hands, and so weighted down with emotional upset and grief and loss and feelings of abandonment. They just had like this heavy dark cloud hanging over them and a great weight on their shoulders, and now it's like that dark cloud is disappearing. It's disappeared, and now there's light all around them, and there's no more that weight. Their hands are free, and they can stand up tall with their shoulders straight. So it's a feeling of release and releasing and release and new beginnings and letting go, and knowing that, if it is a case where your father's passed and perhaps it was a tragic passing, and as I said before, perhaps he even had a hand in his own passing, have compassion and understand that it was just too hard. And he's still there with you. He still loves you, and he always has loved you. Okay, fairly deep today, and that, but also bringing in the light, releasing and removing. Well, that's it for today. I don't know that we're going to have time for the moon card today. So yeah, quite different cards. We might quickly do a moon card. We might just about fit that in. See what words of wisdom the moon card has to offer us. Okay, what have we got here? It's the moon card, and it says, every day I focus on what is important. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed it, give it the thumbs up, subscribe and share, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Love and blessings, Kath.